Yo guys, what's going on? Acez here today with another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the hardest task in Escape from Tarkov. The hardest task in the game without a shadow of a doubt. That is required for Kappa anyway. So some people would argue that the stylish one is the hardest task in the game, and that is killing Killa 100 times. But if we're excluding that, then let's talk about the truest, hardest task that is required for Kappa currently in Escape from Tarkov, and that is going to be a Peacekeeper task called the Guide. If you guys are new to Tarkov, then you might not have heard of this one, but if you've been around for a good bit, then you know just as well as all of us that this task is extremely frustrating, extremely time-consuming, and extremely stressful. It is one of the hardest tasks in the game because, as you can see on screen, you have to survive every map. But the part that makes it really hard is the fact you have to do it consecutively. Now, you can do it in any order, but you have to survive every single map without dying in a row. So that means Woods, Customs, Interchange, Shoreline, Factory, Lab, and Reserve Base. You have to go in, either kill a couple things and leave, or wait the 7 minutes, or play a full raid. It doesn't matter. You have to extract from that raid with the survival status, and you have to do that consecutively. So that is why it's the hardest task. It's literally that simple because you have to survive every single map without dying. And you guys know how Tarkov is. It's fucking rough. So let's talk about a little more in depth on why this is the hardest task in the game. You have the triple C's. That's what I call it. You have Chads, which you're used to. You have Connection, which could spike at any time. And you have Cheaters, which are just another variable thrown in the pot. You don't really see them nearly as much. BSG has been doing a fantastic job on getting the cheaters the hell out of these servers. But I will say they do pop up every once in a while. I would say you have one within every 25 raids. That's a pretty good estimate. 4% of the time you'll run into the cheater. But I believe, an old statistic was in 50% of your raids, there'd be at least one cheater. That is significantly lower now. In this wipe, 12.10, 12.9, they're the same wipe right now. I probably had a cheater, maybe 4 times out of like 800 raids. So it's actually been very, very nice. And I was just giving you kind of a higher estimate for people who might run into them a little bit more. You maybe play a little bit more lab, then you might see a couple extra cheaters thrown in the mix. But the triple C's, Chads, Cheaters, and Connection, that's going to be your biggest variables when it comes to playing these maps. Now, me as a solo player, it increases even more. If you have a party of 4, then you have 3 other PMCs that aren't on the map because your teammates replace them, and that allows you a little bit more security. However, when having teammates, you have to have good communication. So you might get rid of some Chads, but you throw in communication. So you're always going to have the triple C's no matter what. And I think the triple C's is really the thing that makes the guide the hardest thing, in my opinion, because surviving each and every map isn't that hard. It's just you have to have a lot of stars aligned for you to get them all consecutively. So let's talk about the best extracts for each map for you to use, and then I'll tell you guys the order I would propose you try to do the maps in. And at the end of the video, I'm going to go over some proposed changes, possibly coming up with point 13 that I think would make the task a lot better. Not that I have any influence whatsoever on BSG or the Tarkov community. I just feel like I want to share my thoughts and some things that could make the task a little bit better for players in general. So let's go over it. Each extract you should be using on each and every map. The Woods extract. Your safest extract is actually going to be either the ZB extract, the one bunker. Now, that is if you only spawn on one side of the map, so there's a variable there, or bridge extraction. And I would highly recommend bridge extraction. Now, you can pretty much guarantee at some point during the map, you're going to have at least 2 PMCs cross into the village. But one thing they might not do is take that bridge extraction. If they don't, it's a really free extract, one that rarely gets extract camped, and one that is relatively safe. The maximum amount of scavs I've seen at the village is 8, but at the end of the day, you typically only have 2 to 4 there. If you can get past them, wait the 7 minutes, or kill those scavs, maybe get some food in the houses. I mean, it's loaded with food spawns in there. That bridge extraction is going to be your best bet for surviving Woods, in my opinion. The best extracts to use at Customs are going to be the brand new ZB extract in Skeleton, the brand new area added in 12.7. Obviously, you have to turn the power on for that one, but there's a good chance another player will do that for you, and you just have to wait the 7 minutes or kill a scav roaming in there, or use the Dorms extract. Now, if you plan on using the Dorms extract, I would plan on doing Customs earlier than later when it comes to extracting for this task. Now, if you play customs a certain way or you like to play customs just in general, maybe consider doing customs, you know, third or fourth in a list rather than last. But check out the Dorms extract and check out the Skeleton extract for your best options. RUAF is typically bugged, and, you know, if Smuggler isn't there, you're going to be hurting if you have to go crossroad, and, you know, if the one ZB bunker that's only there half the time isn't there, and gas station isn't there for you, going to the far bunker in the corners, ZB101, that's probably going to be pretty risky. So keep that in mind. Customs will be hard. The best interchange extract to use is probably going to be Hole in Fence. Hole in Fence or Hole in the Wall, whatever it's called, is going to be your best option, you know, 7 minutes or later into the raid. Now, at the beginning of the raid, within the first 5 minutes, it might actually be a pretty hot extract for the fact that Killa farmers use it pretty much constantly. With a very, very simple rig setup with, you know, one slot for the helmet and then throwing on Killa's armor, they're going to be running out of there with a decent amount of gear from Killa, and if they have Killa's armor and helmet on, you're probably not going to kill them unless you're fully prepared with a Leg Meta MP5 or Vector on Interchange specifically. And that is something that is one, you know, it's kind of tough. It's up to the variables again. And, you know, I wouldn't recommend going Railway or Emercon, whatever you get. It's just Extract Camp Central in Interchange. Hole in the Fence at the end of the day is going to be your best extract unless you can make it to Power Station. If you would spawn Power Station with the car, if you want to, you know, loot up Power Station maybe and then get out or wait the 7 minutes, that'd probably be your safest bet. But Hole in the Fence is your next best option. Talking about Shoreline. Shoreline probably one of the hardest maps to extract from, in my opinion, simply because there's mainly only 2 extracts and, you know, sometimes they're extract camp. But if I had to give you some other options, I would say try the pier boat. I have never died going pier boat, ever. It's not always there, maybe 10% of your raids, but it's worth checking on. It's currently bugged, so the red light doesn't show on the boats. You have to physically go across the pier and check for yourself to see if it's there, or use Rock Passage, which is there, you know, roughly 40% of the time. I wouldn't say 50-50. I'd say a little bit less than that, but, you know, Rock Passage, if you'd spawn up, maybe you want to head out there and just wait the 7 minutes. It'd be good to go from there. Factory, it's a super easy one. Any of your factory gate keys, just use those and leave. Very, very simple. Nothing we have to talk about. The lab. The lab is a little bit different because you can get so many different spawns on lab. On lab, I would suggest you use the vent extract. That is the one that you can't have a backpack on. And if you can't make it to vent, it's a pretty contested hallway sometimes with raider spawns. Then I would recommend using the sewer. Almost every time I've gone sewer in labs, I haven't really been contested. The action really isn't down there, and it's a pretty much free extract. You just have to wait for it. So anybody who's actually watching their extracts and specifically trying their asses off to kill you, I mean, that's your, you know, really only concern besides cheaters as well. You're going to be fine taking that sewer extract. As for reserve, I would probably just take the sewer manhole. I wouldn't go for Hermetic D2 if you know the map. Me personally, I don't really know reserve at all, to be honest with you. It's just a map that I have not got a lot of playtime on. I have 1,300 hours in Tarkov. I'd say I have about 10 hours on reserve. I just haven't had the PC for it, and now that I've upgraded my RAM, I can, but I just don't feel safe enough on that map yet where I can run around freely and know exactly every spot, every corner, every part of the map. It's just not me. So for me, who's not very experienced at reserve, I would go manhole, but for an experienced reserve player, I think a D2 would probably be your best bet. Just watch out for your extract campers. So that is every extract you should take when it comes to the guide. Now, you can take whatever extracts you want, but that's just my recommendation. As for the order you should complete the guide in. Now, it's kind of tough because a lot of players play differently than me. And, you know, some people are ultimate chads and they don't give a fuck and they'll just run any map and slay and dominate. But for me, some maps I do better than others. And I'm going to give you my best order and my best strategy to do the guide. So, we have Factory coming in number 1. We want to be doing Factory first, mainly because it's the shortest raid, and it's going to feel like at the end of the day, we're only doing 6 raids for the guide. That's it. So, instead of doing 7, we're basically doing 6. Factory is a 99% survival rate for anybody who's played the game over 150 hours. It's pretty much guaranteed. You need a factory key, which is going to cost you 50,000 rubles, and then you just need to hit one of the factory gate extracts. And the best way to do this and get the survival status without waiting the 7 minutes is go in with just a pistol and get tagged and cursed. And then once you're tagged and cursed, go ahead, kill that scab that rushes you with the headshot for the XP bonus. Loot that guy, take all his gear, take your factory key, extract, and then leave. You'll be done in a minute. It'll be super, super simple. It'll be a couple extra 1,000 rubles for free as well on top of that. And then you'll get out of factory alive. That is the best, but that is your best bet there, in my opinion. So next is completely up to you. But for me, I would do reserve simply because I'm not experienced enough on the map. But if you don't think you're going to have a problem on reserve, then go ahead and do lab or customs if you're really bad at customs. But I would recommend doing lab next. Mainly because it's just the big daddy one that has so many chads on it and so much more potential for cheaters. It's better to just get it out of the way and have that weight taken off your shoulders. You don't want to do the other 6 maps and then leave lab last and then be like, shit, you know, I don't know if I'm ready for this, and then just get a bad spawn and die, or die to a raider, or whatever variable there might be. There's so much M99 flowing through lab that you could easily just get one tapped and lose your other 6 raids. So consider doing lab second or third depending on that. But me, I would be doing lab third. I'd be doing reserve base second, trying to get lucky with a manhole cover spawn. You can spawn in the building right next to it. You know, wait the 7 minutes in that building, run to the manhole, and then extract, and that would be number 2, and then doing lab next. I would probably just go right for the sewers right at the beginning of lab, and if I get a bad spawn, then I would just have to figure it out, man. It would be really tough. I had to play really, really slow, and the slower you play, the more potential that a cheater is going to get to you that much quicker. So keep in mind your options there, but lab definitely has to come in second or third. It's not negotiable. Next one would probably be, if I had to be honest, I would probably go Shoreline, just to get the next big one out of the way. Shoreline is just one of those maps. It's kind of tough. It depends on your spawn. It depends on what extracts are open. But I would consider leaving the easiest 3 maps for last. That way you're not as stressed out, and it's just a lot more weight off your shoulders. You don't want to waste, 2 hours on Woods, Customs, and Interchange just to get screwed over on Shoreline or Reserve. It just doesn't make sense. You can save more time by doing the hardest maps last, or first, excuse me, the easiest maps last. So I would say Shoreline comes in next. I would probably, depending on my spawn, run up to Rock Passage and wait it out. If it's not there, then maybe wrap around the edge of the map before any PMCs have time to extract. Go down to that pier boat and check that. And assuming I spawn Road to Customs side, then I would work my way up through near a gas station. Now, every once in a while, the whole raid goes fucking gas station, so keep that in mind. But I would try to work my way up through those bushes and just try and use those bushes to my advantage and play it real slow, get up to the tunnel, and extract. But it all is codependent on your spawns, what extracts are open. There's a lot of variables on Shoreline. That is why I would put it 4th. Next is kind of up to you, but I personally would go Customs next. Customs is one map that I'm very, very experienced on. I love playing, but at the end of the day, still has a lot of damn variables, and anything is possible on Customs. There could be just any amount of chance to get Rashala just rushing you when it comes to, trying to extract from Skeleton, or there's just so many variables on Customs, so I'd probably do Customs next at the number 5 spot. After that, I would probably do Interchange, and I would save Woods for last. Woods lately for me, I haven't really died at all on Woods. I think the last 10 times I've played Woods, I haven't died because going bridge extraction is extremely, extremely safe, in my opinion. And, if you don't have time to go extraction or bridge extraction, or you're just not in the correct positioning for it, it's pretty easy to work the map to either of the extract points, whether that be outskirts or the one gate. In my opinion, Woods is one of the easiest maps to extract from because it's such a big map. There's so many different PMCs all over the map. Next, let's talk about some things that I would consider changing for the guide. Now, if we wanted to keep this task exactly the same, a few things I would change here is its kappa requirement. Now, there's going to be a lot of, chads and other players who say, you don't deserve kappa if you can't complete the guide. In a way, I do agree, but considering there's over 200 tasks in Tarkov, that's a lot of in-game time you have to actually put in. And, for most players, they'll never even get this far in the task progression because they don't play 8 hours a day. They play maybe 2. So they're never even going to get close to getting kappa. And, for most streamers, the guide is fairly easy because they can just take in a group of 4. So For solo players, you know, it really puts us in this weird spot where it's very, very hard to complete the guide to obtain kappa. So I would take off the kappa requirement. I don't think kappa should have to have the guide completed for it. That's just my opinion. Now, if we wanted to change this around, and let's keep the kappa requirement, I would take off the consecutive survival, and then I would increase the rates that you need to survive each map. So let's say that the guide doesn't have to be consecutive survival ratings. Then what I would do is make the survive at woods 25 times, survive at customs 25 times, survive at interchange 25 times, survive at shoreline 25 times, survive at factory 50 times, survive at lab 10 times, and survive at reserve base 25 times. So you can see the balancing I kind of threw in there. You know, survive 50 factories and survive only 10 labs. Obviously, you have to pay for your labs key cards, and they typically get inflated. So with that, there's some balancing there, and it helps the player a little bit when it comes to just overall quality of life. So if you would do that, one, you would have players playing a lot longer than they would actually trying to complete the guide. If you think about it, you know, doing, you know, 100 raids for 4 maps, and then doing, you know, another 50 on one map, and then another, you know, 10 on lab, and then another 25. It's like, that's a lot of raids, man. That is like over 225 different raids, and players would have to play the shit out of the game to complete that. But if you want to require that for kappa, then you're going to get battle hardened doing that, and it's going to be a fun, enjoyable experience to play on each and every map. But surviving it consecutively can be seen as a burden. It's just unenjoyable and just really, really stressful, and it just isn't fun. So depends on how you want to look at that one. If you want to keep the kappa requirement, I think they should take off the consecutive statuses and change it to a static amount of survivals. And if you want to keep it the same, then I would take off the requirement for kappa. Now, maybe you could change this out for another task in the kappa requirements, but I have a feeling that going into point 13, all of the new tasks that have been added recently will also be kappa required, and we probably will see the guide stay in there as well. Now, tasks like samples, you probably won't see go in, and then stylish one, you probably wouldn't see go in. But if I had to make a trade, I would rather do the stylish one than do the guide. I would rather kill Killer 100 times because it's fun, it's manageable, and it gives you that rush of getting good loot every single time. It's just, I would rather kill Killer 100 times for kappa than do the guide. That's just my opinion, but there's a whole bunch of other things we could suggest changing about this, such as the rewards. The rewards don't even make this task worth it in any way at all, in my opinion. You know, having the EOTech HHS, this site is low tier. Honestly, man, I'd rather run a regular EOTech, or I'd rather run a Valday with a PKO 6 canted. There is no amount of money you could pay me to run this HHS as like a primary go-to site. It's just not worth it. And then the slap armor, yes, it's good. A lot of people use it, but it's such a variable item that you're not going to ever need that often. You could just buy off the flea market. And then the CWP magazines, like, you can just buy those off the flea for super, super cheap. So it's like, why bother for the rewards? The only reason to do the guide is for kappa. So it's just like, you know, you make every other task in the game so much easier and so much noob friendly. And once you get down here to the hardcore ass task, it's just like almost impossible. It's near impossible. And this is just a whole discussion on the guide. This is, you know, this video is very, very welcoming to any and all of your discussion points when it comes to making any changes or any thoughts you might have on the guide in the comments below. But this is easily the hardest task in Escape from Tarkov. Very long video here today, but hopefully you found it informative and some things that we could change. And yeah, man, that's gonna do it for me. But I wanted to do a video on this task while I had it up. And honestly, man, it's just super, super nerve-wracking. There's so many different things that could go wrong doing this task, and it is just one for the books, that's for sure. It's definitely the hardest task in Escape from Tarkov, and I thought it deserved a nice long discussion video, so hopefully you did too. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Leave that like, subscribe if you're new. Sponsors and equipment description below. That's all I got today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm out.